Hello, my name is Cheney Mosley, and I'm excited to present my data science project titled Understanding Graduation Outcomes at Rural Community Colleges. This project was developed for American Institutes for Research, often referred to as AIR, and completed in August 2025. Rural community colleges play a vital role in educational access and local workforce development. Yet, graduation rates at these institutions are often inconsistent and underexplored. This project aims to answer two core questions. First, what institutional characteristics are common among rural community colleges with stronger graduation outcomes? And second, are there identifiable traits that distinguish higher performing from lower performing institutions? The goal was to offer practical, data-informed insights to support policy and technical assistance decisions. The data for this analysis came from the Integrated Post-Secondary Education Data System, or IPEDS, for the 2022-2023 collection cycle, which covered 196 rural community colleges across the United States. IPEDS is maintained by the National Center for Education Statistics, which is the primary federal entity for collecting and analyzing education data in the United States. Key data elements include graduation rates, tuition, demographics, financial aid, and institutional structure. Focus areas included outcomes based on race and ethnicity, gender, financial aid status, tuition patterns, and open admissions policy. Beyond calculating means and central tendencies, I also used two modeling approaches. First, I used ridge regression to predict graduation rates, and second, I used logistic regression to classify institutions as either high or low performing. These models were not just built for prediction, but they were built to help uncover which institutional characteristics are most meaningful for student success. The first insight revealed how geography influences graduation rates. Using the IPEDS data, I compared graduation outcomes by rural locale classification, which is assigned by the National Center for Education Statistics. These codes, rural fringe, rural distant, and rural remote, are based on how close a college is to an urban area. Rural fringe community colleges are located near urban clusters, while rural distant colleges are farther from cities but still accessible, and rural remote universities are the most isolated, located the farthest from any urbanized area. The data showed that remote colleges, which are the most geographically isolated, had the fewest graduates on average, which suggests possible barriers to completion in these areas. The second insight showed the model for predicting graduation rate was highly accurate. The ridge regression model was designed to identify which institutional traits are most associated with higher graduation rates. It used features like tuition levels, student demographics, financial aid completion rates, and admission policies. As you can see in this chart, the model's predictions closely match actual outcomes, explaining 94% of the variation across community colleges. And that strong alignment tells us that we can trust these variables as meaningful indicators of institutional performance. The third insight is that graduation outcomes are highly predictable using institutional characteristics. The logistic regression model accurately classified 90% of community colleges as either high or low performing. It correctly identified 25 low performing and 26 high performing rural community colleges as shown in the blue squares, with only 3 errors in each group. This strong performance shows that student success can be reliably predicted using demographic, financial, and policy-related features. The fourth insight highlights the importance of how well institutions support students receiving financial aid. The Pell Grant completion rate, shown at the bottom of the figure in blue, was the most influential variable in both models, followed closely by the completion rate of students who did not receive any financial aid. This tells us that successful rural community colleges may tend to support both low-income students as well as students who do not need financial aid, which makes financial aid completion a critical marker of institutional effectiveness. And the fifth insight, the final insight, focuses on structural traits. The analysis showed that colleges with open admission policies were slightly less likely to be high performers. Additionally, higher in-state tuition was modestly linked to better outcomes, possibly because it reflects available resources. These patterns suggest that institutional structures like admissions and pricing do play a role in student success. Based on these insights, I recommend the AIR and its partners focus their attention on identifying and learning from rural community colleges with strong Pell completion rates. I recommend the investigation of the impact of open admission policies, and I recommend considering geographic and financial barriers when designing interventions. These findings can help prioritize technical assistance or funding or future research efforts focused on rural community colleges. Now, to summarize, this project explored patterns in student success at rural community colleges. Using data from iPads, I applied 2 modeling techniques to reveal which institutional characteristics are linked to stronger graduation outcomes. Financial aid completion, tuition, demographics, and institutional policy were all influential. The models proved both insightful and accurate, giving AIR a strong foundation for future action. Thank you.